Hello, good morning, and welcome back to the Fish Locker, out on the shore. Now it is a beautiful morning this morning, and I'm coming for a walk down on the coast. Now as you can see, the tide, I've still got about another 2.5 hours of the ebb. I'm down here a little bit early just because I wanted to get down here for first light. See a little bit of beach. When the tide ebbs off, we're going to be heading that way. And we're having a little walk along the shore, low tide, looking in all the rock pools on the sand, and I've even got my wetsuit up in the van just in case I find anything. This little area of shore, I have been here before with a friend of mine. We did a little bit of wrasse fishing, and when I was looking through the rocks I thought this area seems like a decent spot to have a little bit of a forage and a rake about. So I'm back. Tides aren't massive today, but they should be good enough, and as you can see by how calm it is in the bay, it might be alright. It's not hard to see why this is my favourite time of day, is it? It's just stunning. I am being a little bit overly eager. I am down here a little bit too early, but just couldn't miss this time of day. Now the area that we're working across, I'm going to work towards, it's just down there. Now you're unlikely to find as much up in these area rocks. I don't know if you can see the oyster catchers there. Up and around like the main wash area, which is these areas here, and the areas, you can see how stunted the seaweed is. Sorry, you can see how stunted the seaweed is. It's only really short, isn't it? Look, that's just because it gets ripped up. Of course, this is where most of the rocks gets turned around by the waves. We want to be down there. We've still got another 2 hours of the ebb, but already in amongst all the rocks and finding a lot of shells, and most of them are clams, like surf clams, hard shell clams, which is a great sign for what might be further out there. These areas here, can you see the gutweed? It is edible, it's nice to eat. Right, this will show you the difference. You see how this is in fibres, like long strings? That's the gutweed, and that there, it's like a big leaf, is sea lettuce. So you've got gutweed, sea lettuce, and this is spiralled wrack. A few little painted top shells. This here, bright red, is a nice bunch of dulse. This is also edible, but you can see how it's been ripped off the rock. I wouldn't recommend taking anything that's been detached from a rock, because you don't know how long it's been dead for. That is one of the things that I love about this time of morning as well, is it does give off a lovely light. Got a lot of limpets. We are fortunate enough to have subscribers from all over the world. Talking to a lot of our subscribers that are from the Pacific Islands, they call limpets something like opihi, and they are a delicacy over there, so much so that you won't find a limpet on a rock because it'll have been eaten. They've been commenting on videos and saying it's incredible to see so many, and that we would have them away. So yeah, it just goes to show that it's not known as being like a food source in the UK. I've tried them before. and they aren't unpleasant. They can be a bit tough. Yeah, they're incredible, isn't it? See all the barnacles. They are good for grip. You hear that noise? That's oyster catchers. If I can get close enough, I will show you them. But they're a black and white bird with like a long orange beak. Yeah, this shows you what I mean. See all the different clamshells in there, can't you? Venus clams and surf clams. This one's a likely rock. I'll have a look at this one. Just a few little tiny prawns. Oh, and a nice little cushion star. Yeah. Actually, can you see that grey sand there? There will be a crab or a fish living in a little cave there. You can see because he's pushed this sand out. You see how everywhere else it's kind of like the same kind of colour, and that is dark. Yeah, you can see it there. It's a furrowed crab. There you go, look. Now straight away look at the size of the claws compared to the rest of his body. They're massive claws. This one will be a male. You can tell it's a male because it's got a narrow flap where my little finger is. You can tell he was a male straight away by the size of his claws. It's a xantho crab. A few names for him. But yeah, we could tell he was there because he turned that sand out. Back you go, lad. I do like those little cushion stars. Right, let's move on somewhere else. Actually, I've just noticed out the corner of my eye, if you can see here, those two anemones. They're a type of snake locks anemone. And if you were a little prawn or a little crab coming past there and you touched into one of those legs, they stick onto you and they will suck it into the middle. Right in the centre of there is, now look, let's see if I can show you. Right in the centre of there is like a little opening, like a mouth. That's a good sign as well. That's a gaper clamshell. So yeah, if you want to know what type of shellfish is going to be in an area, look around the high tide line, because any of the dead stuff will have worked its way up there. So we've found probably 6 or 7. There's another one as well. Netted dog whelk. 6 or 7 different species of clam, and half a dozen little types of like shells, like whelks, winkles. Yeah, there's loads to see. Right, we're going to work our way along there. Work our way along to the end while the tide's ebbing off, and then we might go back and get the wetsuit. Oh. Gotta be quick. Right, you see these here? That's one crab protecting another. See there? The big one will be a male and the small one will be a female. Now look, these are just a shore crab, but this one here, the smaller one that one was protecting, will be a peeler crab. That one there, the smaller one, will be just about to peel. What they do is, the breeding cycle of those crabs, most crabs, is that the male will mate with the female when she has just shed her shell. For anybody who doesn't know about crustaceans, arthropods, is they have a hard exoskeleton. In order to grow, they need to shed out of their old shell and grow a new one. Well, in that time, they have a soft shell. He will be protecting her while she's soft. He'll mate with her while she's soft, and when she hardens up, that's when she'll have her eggs. That's why he's looking after her. Kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah, you're looking for rocks like this. Big flat ones are the best ones to turn over. There's one there. Oh, there, look, there again. You see, a big one protecting a little one. See the little tiny one underneath? That'll be a male, that'll be a female. There's a little anemone. So yeah, if you're coming to collect peeler crabs for bait, the smaller ones are perfect. You see them hiding under the sand? There's one, there's one, there's one. I was still too high up in the wash zone. I need to be down there. Looking at it, the clarity is fantastic. I'm getting quite excited about getting the suit out now. Every now and again you're seeing some small fish as well. There is a little bit of suspended weed in the water, but that shouldn't be a problem. Whoa, this is exciting. We'll go through a tunnel up here. Oh, right. Alright, we'll have a little look about in the rocks down here. And then we'll double back. We're just about time to go and get the suit on. There's one. Oh no, that's a blenny. You out. Common blenny. Just missed a rain shower, so I'm already a bit wet. Luckily, fish and crabs don't mind getting wet. So I've got me fins in my gear. I'm gonna make my way along here to just the corner of this cove. The water clarity does look great. I'm really excited. I was a bit worried when I was coming down here that the poor weather that we've been having would have knackered up all the clarity. But fingers crossed it'll be alright. Yeah, I fished this little mark down here and it was great for wrasse. So hopefully we might see some of them. I'm interested to see anything really. It keeps you fit. There is a little pipit just on the end of that rock there. Keeps like leapfrogging me. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh. Let's get suited up. Ta-da! From the surface the clarity looked awesome, but there was still quite a bit of plankton around. find anything in this dense, snaggy area, you really need to get right in amongst it all. There's a few velvets tucked away. A lovely common starfish. A nice edible crab wedged right in there. And more velvets. Now this was unusual. A free swimming dogfish, and with what looked like another shadowing it. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I figured it must have been some form of mating ritual. But when I looked closer, the darker one was actually a bullus. Definitely a dogfish. None worse for wear though. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. A big chunky ballan wrasse. And a spiny starfish. I'm sure these dogfish are following me. A lovely little leopard spotted goby. These interesting looking ferns are actually the back end of a brown sea cucumber. That's what we're looking for. What a cracker. Nice big male. That'll do nicely. Come on mate, get in the bag. I managed to hide myself among some kelp, and these bass just sailed on by. Now that's a proper sea urchin. Back you go. Under this rock, I'm sure they were having a pouting party or something. Great camouflage on this flounder. See you later. Right, I'm out of the water now, but a fantastic dive. Just loads. Clarity wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it was fantastic. Ripped about down and around and everywhere. Loads and loads of dogfish and bullets today. I mean, I managed to catch like 4 or 5 with my hands. Went about in some of the caves down here, loads of prawns, some small crabs, 2 decent edible crabs, but they were right in the back of it all, and I thought I'm not gonna risk tearing my suit up, getting my arm in there. And then swimming about a bit, did find a fantastic lobster. It's still in my sack. So I made up over that. Just cutting about over this and looked over an overhang like that, and just in like a little tiny cave. He was there. Put the camera down because I've had it before where I've tried to show with the camera and try and get it out, and he either sheds a claw or it gets backed up in a hole. So I put the camera down, got the lobster out, and then showed you it. Did see some fantastic wrasse. Saw some even better bass. 1 or 2 of the bass that I saw, they were of a quick hand. I disturbed them. They were hiding like in like a little eddy, like a little cove. And as I'd come round and pop my head round before I get the camera round, I might be able to show you. There was 1 or 2 of them that were like 6 to 8 pound. They were monsters. They were real. They were like this big. Quite a lot of smaller ones around the 4 pound range. Hopefully I've got some good footage. We saw some nice little caves with loads of pouting and whiting in, some leopard spotted gobies, and on the way back over the open ground I managed to catch a flounder by hand. Sneaked down on top of it, but that was a big one. That was like a 2 pound plus flounder. I managed to catch all of it just with my bare hands. Yeah, I hope the footage of that showed up because that was mental. Now I've got my lobster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to make tracks and get back. I did bring my pan just in case I found anything, so we will see if we can't find a sheltered little bit of beach and we'll have a cook up. Right, taking all the gear back to the van, and I've got my rocket stove. It's a cross between a Swedish torch and a rocket stove, and I've just got it started. All these is they're little tiny splits of a piece of pallet wood. I just have a couple of pieces of offcuts of pallet like that, just split it into little tiny pieces, and I just feed the stove with them until it properly starts burning. I have the wonderful lobster that I found. He is a cracker, isn't he? Look at the size of that claw. No V-notches. You can see a bit of damage to this central fan here, but that looks like it's been a wound. If there was going to be a V-notch, it'd be in this one or this one. But yeah, he's a beauty. Easy big enough. The size of that claw. Yeah, and I have some clean seawater. Can't even see it's that clean. As soon as the stove gets going, little lobster on. People have asked me before, how do you gauge, like when you find a lobster in the water or when you found one under the rocks, how do you know straight away whether or not it's big enough or not? Well, other than the fact that I've been doing this for a long time, and you get to know by seeing it, but also for things like scallops or razor clams or lobsters, I have measured my hand. I know what the minimum landing sizes are, and I've measured my hand. Now my hand, from the edge of my little finger to the edge of this finger, the width of those 4 fingers is 90 millimeters, or 92 millimeters. So I know that if I get hold of a lobster like this, with my hands straight on top of it, lined it up with the eye to the back, I know that if it's bigger than my hand, I know if it's bigger than my hand, then it's bigger than 90 mil. It's that simple. You just have to have, if you're not going to carry a gauge with you the whole time, I know that if it's even close, it's not worth it. If it's bigger than what my measurement is, then I'll go for it. I think this one's going to be about 95. Get my old trusty rusty out. Now look. Back of the eye, back of the carapace, 94 mil. That side, yep, 95 on that. 95 on that side. So, like I said, whatever you have to do, if you want to make up your own little plastic gauge to carry with you when you're diving, like I say, I've measured my hand. I know that if I get hold of it, if it's the same size or smaller, it's too small. If it's bigger than the width of my 4 fingers along its hard part, along its carapace, like that, then I know it's big enough. He's enjoying a nice bath in there, isn't he? A couple more minutes and he'll be right to come off. Wow, a little bit of water that we have left. Ha ha! What a stunner. There's the butter melted as well. Perfect. Right, that's enough of that. Whoa, perfect. Nice little bit of melted butter as well. Spent like 2.5 hours in the water today. So I am actually really hungry now. Whoa, that stove's still giving off some heat as well. I'll turn it round. Singeing all the hairs up my arm. Oh, I tell you what, it's got a hard shell, this one. There we go. Perfect. Still a bit hot for my fingers. You honestly do not get any better than that. Straight out of the water. Oh. Oh. This guy's got a really hard shell. It's good when they've got a really hard shell because you know they're going to be full of meat. Some bits of his shell there look like 2mm thick. A strong old boy. Look at the size of that claw. Look at the size of that. You see how thick his claw was there? Absolutely packed full of meat. Tough guy. Put up a fight getting out. Nearly had hold of me a couple of times getting him out. You can see there the difference in the texture of the meat. The tail meat is like a big solid piece, whereas the claws have got like little strips in. Yeah, I couldn't believe how many bullus and dogfish there were today. And then bass. That was a cracking dive from start to finish. Don't know if you can see the steam rising off it. Absolutely piping hot. These Swedish torch rocket stoves. These are fantastic for this type of thing. There is a video on the Fish Locker Workshop channel showing you how I make these. They're great because not only is it just a log, but once you're finished with it like this, pick it up, chuck it in sea to cool it off, chuck it on your bonfire. You could chuck it in sea to cool it off and then dry it back out and then reuse it as firewood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to... Oh, there's a log up there. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to take that home with me. I'm going to take all these little bits of shell and I'm going to put them under the rocks down there. So if there's any little tiny bits of meat that I've missed, like the crabs and blennies and gobies can have a feed, and all the shell, it returns to the ecosystem, because they will break this down and eat it. And then we're going to have to make tracks, otherwise I'm going to get stuck by the tide. Let's go and get my wands washed first, because I'm all clarty. I've had to be really quick because, as you can see, very nearly got cut off by the tide. This is the stump that I was on about. I have a plan for that. I hope you've enjoyed joining me. I've had a fantastic morning. Gorgeous sunrise, great dive, loads of species, fish, crabs, seaweed, the lot. I'm going to try and put annotations in here to show you what the species are, because people have said they find that helpful. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you think that your friends might enjoy it, please share it on. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel and make sure that you've selected all notifications so that you don't miss when a new video comes out. All the best, thank you, and we'll see you later.